Hey everybody, I'm Trick Townsend and I'm an artist. I was thinking about middle school a lot recently and how weird of a time it was for me. That was the first time I wasn't sure I wanted to be an artist. It wasn't that I didn't like art anymore, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, and even with the vague ideas of what I wanted to do, I had no idea how to do them. Because I had always wanted to draw comic books because I liked superheroes and shit, but I sucked at drawing people, and I knew I sucked at drawing people, and the comic books I wanted to make were of people, so it seemed simple to get better at drawing people, but I had no idea where to get that information, so I was stuck drawing the same shit over and over and over again because I had always drawn, so I literally had no idea what else to do. That was just my default state, was to go in my room and draw. Like, I knew there were classes, but I lived in a small town, and the only life drawing classes were an hour drive away in the next town over. A drive my parents were probably not going to take, once or twice a week, however often the class was. And I didn't even know that class existed until high school because I didn't even know to look up for life drawing classes in middle school. I just looked up art classes near me, and unless I wanted to paint flowers with old ladies at the senior center, I wasn't finding what I was looking for then. So art-wise, I spent most of middle school kind of just spinning my wheels, which, thinking about it, might not have been the worst thing because that was also around the time my grades started going down the toilet. And if you also take into consideration how my home life was, the toilet was also on fire. But it wasn't all bad. I don't want to make it seem like it was, because that was also when I started getting into stand-up, and I started watching a bunch of director's commentaries and getting really into like filmmaking. So I wasn't doing a lot, but I was getting exposed to a lot, all sorts of new kinds of art and ways of being creative. And I think if I did get that exposure, I wouldn't be the artist I am today. Then when I got in high school, two things happened. The first one was the internet. Like many people who were growing up in the mid-2000s, I was very familiar with deviantART.com. Nowadays, you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of artists on every social media platform. But back in the day, this was the first and pretty much the only place I could find all of the art I was interested in. I found cartoons, anime, sexy girls, concept art, digital painting, monsters, sexy girls, science fiction, fantasy, sexy girls, lots and lots of sexy girls. DeviantArt was very helpful for 14-year-old Trick in his undercover work. But besides supporting my teenage after-school activities, DeviantArt was the place I suddenly found out I wasn't weird. Like, suddenly I found out there was a lot of people who were making up their own characters. I found out there was a lot of people who were influenced by and making cartoons and comics and anime. I found people who were doing the things that I wanted to do, and they were doing them and they were good at them, which meant that I could do them and I could get good at them. The second thing that happened in high school was I finally met another artist, which sounds weird, but I was always the only art kid in every class I had all the way through elementary and middle school. Nobody else was interested in it, nobody else liked it, nobody else was good at it, so I was just the art kid. And suddenly in sophomore year, when I meet another artist in my PE class, it kind of was like finding that there was another alien who was hiding on Earth along with you. And since PE is not a real class anyways, we would just talk about art. They wanted to be an animator, they told me about their characters, they told me about all these cool artists and people who I'm still following to this day. And the reason I was thinking about this was, I think there are things I have creatively to add to the world, but I am not some genius innovator. I'm not some explosive creative force that can't be stopped. I get stumped, and I change directions, and I spend most of my time in a constant state of I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But that's a lot of us. A lot of us don't know what we're doing. But the thing that I think I have over some people is I'm willing to keep going, and wait to find my footing, and I'll figure it out later. I'm fine with not knowing what I'm doing because I had a time in my life, middle school, where I didn't know what I was doing. And I keep going so that I can get to high school and then, get to graduate in high school and get to where I am now. But it wouldn't have happened if I just quit in middle school. I just keep going, and I think that's what's going to help me in the long run.